NEC 555.9 mandates that all electrical connectors must be installed at least 12 inches above the electrical datum plane. The electrical datum plane is defined as the elevation above which electrical equipment is considered to be out of reach from the ground or other surfaces. Now, the question arises, is a splice an electrical connection? According to NEC definitions, a splice is a connection made by mechanically joining two or more conductors without using a connector. Therefore, a splice is not considered an electrical connector under NEC 555.9. Considering a specific situation where there are plans to use an approved splice for wet locations to connect two wires in a handhole, since a splice is not an electrical connector, it does not need to be installed 12 inches above the electrical datum plane. Therefore, based on this information, it is permissible to make a splice in a handhole below the electrical datum plane, as long as the splice is approved for wet locations. There is no need to continue the pull without breaking the wire if a suitable splice is used. To clarify, an electrical connector is a device used to join electrical conductors mechanically or electrically. Examples include wire connectors, terminals, and other similar devices. In contrast, a splice is a method of joining conductors directly, typically by twisting or crimping them together and then insulating the connection. Now, to delve deeper into the NEC and its implications for electrical work, let's explore some related concepts and code sections. We should touch upon conductor sizing and ampacity. The NEC provides tables for determining the appropriate conductor size based on the ampacity required for a given circuit. For example, NEC Table 310.15. B16 provides ampacity ratings for various conductor types and sizes. It's crucial to select conductors that can safely carry the intended current without overheating. Overcurrent protection is another key aspect of electrical safety. Circuit breakers and fuses are used to protect conductors and equipment from overloads and short circuits. The NEC specifies requirements for overcurrent protection in Article 240. The size of the overcurrent device should be matched to the ampacity of the conductor it is protecting. Grounding and bonding are essential for preventing electrical shock hazards. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, allowing the overcurrent device to trip and to energize the circuit. Bonding ensures that all metal parts of an electrical system are electrically connected, minimizing voltage differences and reducing the risk of shock. Article 250 of the NEC covers grounding and bonding requirements. Wiring methods refer to the various ways in which conductors can be installed. The NEC recognizes several wiring methods, including conduit, cable, and wireways. Each wiring method has its own set of requirements and restrictions. For example, Article 300 covers general requirements for wiring methods, while Articles 310 through 398 cover specific wiring methods in more detail. Enclosures are used to protect electrical equipment from the environment and to prevent accidental contact with energized parts. The NEC specifies requirements for enclosures in Article 314. Enclosures must be suitable for the environment in which they are installed and must be properly grounded. Now let's specifically consider wet locations. In wet locations, electrical equipment must be protected from moisture. The NEC defines a wet location as an area where water or other liquids may drip, splash, or flow on or against electrical equipment. In wet locations, equipment must be listed for wet locations or protected by an enclosure that is suitable for wet locations. Article 430 of the NEC addresses motors and motor circuits. Motors can draw a significant amount of current, especially during starting. The NEC provides requirements for motor circuit conductors, overcurrent protection, and control equipment. Article 440 of the NEC covers air conditioning and refrigeration equipment. Air conditioning and refrigeration equipment often includes motors, compressors, and other electrical components. The NEC provides specific requirements for these types of equipment. Furthermore, Article 500 through 516 of the NEC addresses hazardous locations. Hazardous locations are areas where flammable gases, vapors, or dust may be present. Electrical equipment installed in hazardous locations must be specially designed and approved for use in those locations. Electrical installations in marinas and boatyards are subject to specific requirements in Article 555 of the NEC. These requirements address the unique hazards associated with these environments, such as exposure to water and corrosive substances. Article 600 of the NEC covers electric signs and outline lighting. Electric signs and outline lighting can present unique electrical hazards. The NEC provides requirements for the wiring, grounding, and overcurrent protection of these types of installations. The NEC is a complex and comprehensive document. It is essential for electricians and other electrical professionals to have a thorough understanding of the NEC to ensure safe and compliant electrical installations. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay current with the latest edition. Consulting the NEC and other relevant standards is crucial when designing and installing electrical systems. Proper planning, installation, and maintenance are essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. Furthermore, when working with electrical systems, it is essential to follow safe work practices. This includes de-energizing circuits before working on them, using appropriate personal protective equipment, and following lockout-tagout procedures. Regular inspections and testing can help identify potential problems before they lead to accidents or equipment failures. Electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By following the NEC and safe work practices, we can help prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of people and property. Splicing techniques can vary depending on the application and the type of conductors being joined. Common splicing methods include wire nuts, crimp connectors, and soldering. It is important to use splicing methods that are appropriate for the application and that are approved for use in wet locations, if applicable. Wire nuts are a common type of connector used for splicing wires. Wire nuts consist of a plastic cap with a threaded metal insert. The wires are twisted together and then the wire nut is screwed onto the wires to make the connection. Crimp connectors are another type of connector used for splicing wires. Crimp connectors consist of a metal sleeve that is crimped onto the wires to make the connection. Crimp connectors are typically used for larger gauge wires or in applications where a more secure connection is required. Soldering is a method of joining wires by melting a filler metal solder between the wires. Soldering can provide a strong and reliable connection, but it requires skill and experience. Soldering is often used in electronic applications or in situations where a high-quality connection is required. When making splices, it is important to ensure that the conductors are properly insulated. This can be accomplished by using electrical tape, heat-shrink tubing, or other insulating materials. The insulation should completely cover the exposed conductors and provide adequate protection against moisture and other environmental factors. The NEC provides specific requirements for the installation of splices in Article 110.14. These requirements are intended to ensure that splices are properly insulated and protected from environmental factors. When working with electrical systems, it is essential to use the right tools for the job. This includes using insulated tools, wire strippers, crimpers, and other specialized tools. Using the right tools can help prevent electrical shock and ensure that the work is done safely and efficiently. It is also important to maintain electrical equipment properly. This includes cleaning equipment regularly, inspecting for damage, and replacing worn or damaged parts. Proper maintenance can help prevent equipment failures and extend the life of electrical equipment. Regular inspections of electrical systems can help identify potential problems before they lead to accidents or equipment failures. Inspections should be performed by qualified individuals who are familiar with the NEC and other relevant standards. During an inspection, the inspector should check for things like loose connections, damaged wiring, and overloaded circuits. Any problems that are identified during the inspection should be corrected promptly. Staying informed about the latest developments in electrical technology and safety is essential for all electrical professionals. This can be accomplished by attending training courses, reading trade publications, and participating in professional organizations. By staying informed, electrical professionals can ensure that they are using the latest techniques and technologies and that they are following the latest safety standards. In conclusion, Splices are not considered electrical connectors under NEC 555.9, and therefore, they do not need to be installed 12 inches above the electrical datum plane as long as they are approved for wet locations. Always consult the NEC and other relevant standards for specific requirements and guidance. Remember that electrical safety is paramount, and it is essential to follow safe work practices and use the right tools and equipment when working with electrical systems. This information is for educational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer for any electrical work or projects. And now, let's expand on some additional considerations related to electrical work in coastal environments, given the specified location. Coastal environments present unique challenges for electrical systems due to the presence of salt air and moisture. These conditions can accelerate corrosion of electrical components and increase the risk of electrical shock hazards. Therefore, it is crucial to select materials and equipment that are specifically designed for use in coastal environments. Stainless steel, copper, and other corrosion-resistant materials are often used in coastal electrical installations. These materials can withstand the corrosive effects of salt, air, and moisture, providing a longer service life and reducing the risk of failures. Enclosures used in coastal environments should be NEMA 4X rated. NEMA 4X enclosures are designed to be watertight and corrosion-resistant, providing protection for electrical equipment from the elements. Wiring methods used in coastal environments should also be selected carefully. Conduit made of PVC or other corrosion-resistant materials is often used to protect conductors from moisture and physical damage. Direct burial cables should be avoided in coastal environments, as they are more susceptible to corrosion. Grounding and bonding are particularly important in coastal environments. The grounding system should be designed to provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, even in the presence of salt water. Bonding should be used to ensure that all metal parts of the electrical system are electrically connected, minimizing voltage differences and reducing the risk of shock. Regular inspections and maintenance are essential for electrical systems in coastal environments. Inspections should be performed more frequently than in other environments, and any signs of corrosion or damage should be addressed promptly. Cleaning electrical equipment regularly can help remove salt buildup and prevent corrosion. Surge protection is also important in coastal environments, as lightning strikes are more common in these areas. Surge protective devices can help protect electrical equipment from damage caused by voltage surges. In addition to these considerations, it is important to follow all applicable codes and standards when installing electrical systems in coastal environments. The NEC provides specific requirements for electrical installations in marinas and boatyards, which are often located in coastal areas. These requirements address the unique hazards associated with these environments, such as exposure to water and corrosive substances. Furthermore, local building codes and regulations may also have specific requirements for electrical installations in coastal areas. It is important to consult with local authorities to ensure that all applicable codes and regulations are followed. In summary, electrical installations in coastal environments require special attention to detail due to the corrosive effects of salt, air, and moisture. Selecting corrosion-resistant materials, using appropriate wiring methods, and implementing a robust grounding and bonding system are essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems in coastal areas. Regular inspections and maintenance are also crucial for preventing failures and extending the life of electrical equipment. By following these guidelines, electrical professionals can help protect people and property from electrical hazards in coastal environments. Remember, always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer for any electrical work or projects, especially in coastal areas. Their expertise can help ensure that the electrical system is installed safely and in compliance with all applicable codes and regulations.